بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، وأصلي وأسلم على المبعوث رحمة للعالمين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه ومن اهتدى بهديه واستنى بسنته إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. We stopped short last time we met. As you are all aware that we are going through the chapter that deals with transactions. So we talked about hiring, we talked about partnership, we talked about pawning or a rahan, among other things. And we have two items to conclude this chapter that deals with financial transactions, and afterwards inshallah we will begin with the chapter that deals with marital issues such as marriage, the etiquettes of it, how it's done, divorce, khul', iddah, nafaqah, all of these things pertaining to what people need to learn and know before getting married, and definitely before separating and getting a divorce. So the first item on our plate today, and I hope you guys are fasting as I am, is borrowing. And in Arabic this is known as al-qard. And borrowing is to borrow something so that you can use it for a while and then return it as it is or as it was, intact, on the designated time for returning it. And this is done free of charge. And this is why they call it qurudul ihsan or uqudul ihsan, meaning that those doing it, they're doing it for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal, for the sake of being kind to one another. It's like when I'm telling you, Akhi, can you open the door for me? I'm carrying something that is a little bit heavy. You would definitely do that. No one would say, okay, how much are you gonna pay me so that I open the door for you? Excuse me. Nobody does this. So عقود الإرفاق أو عقود الإحسان, this is something that people do to be kind to one another. And when it comes to borrowing, there are pillars. So there's the lender, there is the borrower, and there is also what is being borrowed. So as for the lender, he has to be what is described in fiqh as جائز التصرف. And there is a difference between جائز التصرف and جائز التبرع. So what's the difference between those? In the first, جائز التصرف, he's a person authorized to deal with the money under his control or with the wealth under his control, but not to give it out or to give it away. While جائز التبرع is a person who's permitted to give and donate in charity or as a gift. So if, for example, I'm the guardian of orphans, I have nephews of mine and nieces, their father died, they are orphans, I'm in charge of their wealth. What my brother left I'm in charge of it. So can I sell and buy? Yes, I can sell and buy, not for my own benefit, rather for the benefit of the wealth. So he left a building that is quite old, and the area nobody is interested of renting it except low class people. So I sell it if I get a good price for it, and I buy something new in a better residential area where the income would double. Am I authorized to do this? Definitely. Then I am جائز التصرف. I am authorized to deal. But when it comes to lending money, someone comes and says, Sheikh, I need 500,000 euros to go into an investment, and I'll return it to you in a year time. And it's a good investment. The man is my friend. He wants a loan. So I take from my nephews and nieces money and give it to him instead of it sitting idle in the bank. Nope, this is haram. This is not permissible. Why? I'm the guardian. You're the guardian to deal in what is authorized for you. But you do not have the authority to give something away. And lending money to someone is like giving it away. You're not sure it's going to come back to you. So in this case, it is haram for you. So, condition number one, the lender has to be جائز التبرع. It should be your own money. You're entitled to donate it, to give it away, to lend it to someone. It's your own money. Nobody will hold you accountable for that. And of course, among the other conditions, as mentioned in the first condition, that the borrower and the person lending the article should be qualified. So they should all be qualified in the sense that they are adult, sane, rational, and capable of dealing with their money. So the issue of borrowing is not an easy issue that anyone could do. There are conditions for it. There are sets of rules governing it. And the books of fiqh talked about this in details, which we don't have the opportunity to do. But lending is something that is praised in Islam. And a lot of us fail to see how great investment lending money is. There is an authentic hadith where the Prophet said, alayhi salatu wasalam, lending an amount of silver, meaning money, is equivalent to giving charity of half of it. So I have 1,000 euros. Someone asks me for a loan. I give it to him. And we have the set date of returning this loan of a month. After 1 month, he comes back and gives me the money. So the 1,000 euros are in my possession. The Prophet tells us, 500 of those are registered at the sight of Allah as charity. Charity, and I have the money back in my hands. Yes. Now I gave him a set date of a month. The hadith goes on to say, if the second appointment was not fulfilled, meaning after a month he came and back and said, Wallahi, sorry, the 1,000 euros, I don't have money at the moment. Can you give me another 2 weeks and I'll give it back to you, inshallah? Sure, akhi, no problem. The Prophet says, alayhi salam, for every day of these 2 weeks, the new extension, Allah would register for me the charity of 1,000 euros per day. So meaning when I give him an extension of 2 weeks, this is equivalent to 1,400 euros. No, let me rephrase that. 14,000 euros charity. And after 2 weeks, I get the money in my hand. Whoa! What return of investment can we get? Where can we get something like this in this world? Not only that, in another hadith, the Prophet says, after this extension, so 1 month he could not pay, then asked for 2 weeks more, and he could not deliver. So he came, Wallahi, I don't have money. Can you just spare me some time, and I will hopefully try to gather it for you? And I said, no problem, akhi. Take your time. The Prophet says, for every day, every single day after the second extension, the Prophet says, you are awarded double the amount. So first, you have 500 euros for 1 month. When he asked for another extension of 2 weeks, you have 1,000 euros a day as charity for 2 weeks. So that's 14,000 for the 2 weeks and 500 for the first month. Now for every day extended in that he does not deliver, this is 2,000 euros for you. Wallahi, you will never find anything that is this profitable in this world to invest. And the beautiful thing is, at the end of the day, you will get your money back and it's in your bank account. So lending is something that Islam recommends. It's something that is halal. Allah Azza wa Jal says, and cooperate in righteousness and piety, in Surah Al-Ma'idah, chapter 5. So, وَتَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْبِرِّ وَالتَّقْوَى. This is part of cooperation. I need money to pay something that I have need for, and I need someone to lend me. I don't have it cash on me. And this was done by the Prophet ﷺ. The Prophet borrowed once from Safwan ibn Umayyah some shields so that the Muslims would fight and use when they went to the battle of Hunayn in Taif. So the Prophet ﷺ borrowed that from him. He also borrowed a horse from Abu Talha. He borrowed a sa' of barley from a Jew, as we mentioned last class, and he gave the Jew his own shield as a pawn. So the issue of lending and borrowing is an issue that is well known and well established in Islam. And when we come to the conditions of borrowing, so the first condition is mentioned clearly: the borrower and the person lending the article should be qualified, and we talked about that. The second condition, the borrowed article should be usable for lawful purposes. So this is something that most people should know by now, that you cannot lend something that is to be used in haram. So if someone says to you, Akhi, there is a beautiful movie I'd like to watch and my DVD is broken, so can I borrow your DVD? Says, yeah, sure, no problem. Nope, such borrowing is haram. It's sinful for you to give such a loan or something to be borrowed. If someone says, I like your golden cups which you keep for decoration, and I need one to drink my milk in, and you know that this is haram. Someone wants to borrow your dog. Keeping a dog is haram, so taking it and borrowing it is haram. So the product that you are going to lend people must be halal in its nature and halal in its use. So you can lend someone a TV screen. It can be used in halal and can be used haram. But if he tells you that he's going to use it for haram, then definitely this is not permissible for you to give it to him. And the borrowed article should remain intact after using. So being a borrowed article, when you get it back, it has to be intact. And things and items are divided in fiqh into two types. We call it mithli, which means that it is almost identical or a replica, and qimi or qiyami, which means that the value and the cost of it. So if we have a kilogram of dates and the type of dates is specified, we have a type known as sukkari. So if I borrow from you 1 kilogram of dates, so that I'll bring it back to you next week, do you think I'm going to take this dates and put it in the cupboard or in the fridge, or am I going to consume it? Definitely going to consume it. So when I return the dates back to you, you're not going to say, oh, there's a specific date that I had a mark on. Where is it? No. You get something similar to it. If I borrow 1,000 euros from you and I return it back to you, it is mithli. So these are 1,000 euros. Yeah, but I gave you my 1,000 euros in hundreds. Why are you bringing it back in tens? It doesn't make any difference because it's 1,000 and 1,000. And there is something known as qiyami, meaning if I borrow your, let's say, mobile, and the mobile is busted, it's broken, it's lost, it's damaged, do you insist on having the identical phone, or the cost of it? So insurance companies, when you damage your car beyond repair, they will not buy you a similar car, same model, close in shape. They will give you the cost of your car according to its condition and according to the model or the year. So these are the two things that scholars differentiate. If you borrow food, the product is consumable. How are you going to return it back? There has to be something mithli of it. So if it's a 5 kilograms of wheat, you will bring the same standard or level or quality of wheat in 5 kilograms as such. And this is extremely important because quantifying and describing the things that you have borrowed is important, so that we know that you can return it. Example, Akhi, can I borrow one of your mobiles? So sure, go in the drawer, there are 10 of them. Pick one. So I go and pick one and leave. And I lose it. So I come back to him and I said, well, I lost your mobile. So I said, okay, what maker did you lose? So I don't know, I didn't see it. So I don't know even what you took. No, this is too ambiguous. You have to have knowledge of the product being lent, so, and the quantity, the weight, the description, so that when you return it, it would be known by its description. And of course, it is highly recommended that you either have 2 witnesses or you have it written down. Allah mentioned in the longest ayah of Surah Al-Baqarah, the ayah of the debt, of the loan, which indicates that this is something that has great significance in Islam. O you who believe, whenever you borrow something, register it. So it is highly recommended, and I don't say it's mandatory, though the instruction is an order, because the following ayah stipulates that if one of you trusts the other, then it's okay. But generally speaking, it is not recommended to have a loan without a proof, a document written, or the presence of two male witnesses. People forget. People get old. And sometimes people are crooks and thieves, and they will take your money. And they will challenge you to bring your proof, which you don't have. So you will feel the pain of being betrayed. And this is why Islam says, better safe than sorry. Get it written down. However, a lot of the people are offended when you tell them, can you please write a document stating that you borrowed 10,000 euros from me? So, you don't trust me? You want me to write something? I'm offended. For such people who pretend to be offended, you can kick them out of the door, because they are thieves. Those who refuse to execute what Allah Azza wa Jal has told us in the Quran and pretend to be offended, most likely, they will betray you. And this is why there is a hadith that Shaykh Al-Albani authenticated, and other scholars regarded it as weak, which says that there are three people whom Allah Azza wa Jal would not answer their dua. One of them is a person who had a bad, rude, arrogant wife. The second, and he did not divorce her. The second one is someone who had an irrational person under his control, and he gave him his wealth and he wasted it. And the third one is a person who lent someone money and did not take any proof against that person, and you know what such a person would do. So the Prophet says that these three people, Allah will not answer their dua. And this was a shock for a lot, because said, why? If I am patient and tolerating my rude and arrogant wife, Allah would reward me for not answering my dua? The scholars say no, this is related to the dua you make against that person. So yes, you're tolerant, you're patient with such a wife, and every night you make dua, may Allah curse her, may Allah take her life, may Allah do this. Allah will not respond to your dua, because you had the remedy for such problems is by divorcing her. If all roads are closed and there's no way of reconciliation or trying to fix her attitude, divorce her, and you did not. Then Allah would not answer your dua when you do dua against her. Likewise, the irrational man who wasted your money, and likewise the man who borrowed and did not return your money, when you make dua against them, it's your fault. Why didn't you take proof when he borrowed money from you? So Allah would not respond to your dua against him. But again, some scholars say that this hadith is not authentic, and Allah Azza wa Jal knows best. Also, one of the things that it is important for us to know is that al-qardu halun walau ajjalah. When I give someone money, this is kindness of me. I've lent him money because I am kind. I'm a good Muslim. However, if I gave him an ultimatum to return the money in a month's time, this is not binding for me as a lender because the money is mine. And let's assume I gave you 10,000 euros and you went and we agreed that you would return it in a month's time, only to be surprised after 1 week that I'm calling you and saying, Akhi, I need the 10,000 euros today. Do I have the right to do this? The answer, according to the majority of scholars, is yes. Because this is my hard-earned money. And I was doing you a favor. I thought that I could do without this money for a month, but all of a sudden something important came up. I have to pay the children's school fees. I did not put that in mind. So I'm asking for my money. You have no right in saying that, tough luck, man. I have like 3 weeks before I have to, and I'm obliged to give you the money. No, this is wrong. You're obliged to give him the money immediately, as it is his. And there are so many other topics and issues, but لعله, inshallah, we will stop here or end here. Now we go to the second point, which is endowment. In Arabic, endowment means waqf, and waqf means to hold all types of usage of a property and make it a source of benefit and income throughout the rest of its existence, which means that this property cannot be sold, cannot be gifted, and cannot be inherited. And this is something that is highly recommended in Islam. In the past, one of the most major source of income to the Muslims were endowments. At present, the greatest source of income to the Vatican is endowment. This small, it's not even a city, a small village or town, yet they have so much wealth that is beyond imagination. I remember in 1991, I was in a visit to a refugee camp in Zagreb, Croatia, and in Ljubljana in Slovenia. And the Islamic teacher in the refugee camp was telling me that last week they had 3 airplanes, 747, cargo planes, with priests. And it was filled with the Bible in the language of the people of Bosnia and Herzegovina, and in Croatian, translated, with lots of food, candy, and toys for the children. And I said, how could they do this? And she said that this is from the Vatican, and they have hundreds and thousands of similar dispatches throughout the whole world, preaching their own religion, their own falsehood. And I said, subhanallah. And what are the Muslims doing? Where are the Muslims financing? All what I had with me, I remember at the time, was like maybe $4,000. And I bought with it cartons of banana and detergents, soap, because this is what they needed for their laundry, and few other silly things that was gone in like seconds. So endowment empowers the Muslims because it gives them a source of income not related to the government. For example, if there is an Islamic satellite channel like Huda TV, Zat TV, Peace TV, and one rich person comes and says, listen, this shopping mall is all endowments for Allah Azza wa Jal, and whatever revenue comes goes to propagating Islam. Do you think that the Islamic channel would be begging people for money, unable to produce programs that would benefit the whole ummah? Of course not. They would have a lot of the possibilities without end to propagate Islam. And you can say that about circles of tahfidh al-Quran, about publishing Islamic books, about building orphanages, about building houses to take in abused women, domestic violence victims, etc. The sky is the limit. The biggest problem is the Muslims are not putting any effort. They're not giving any money except a few. And those few would usually be selfish. So if I'm a rich person, I have a lot of money, I would probably build buildings and instruct that the revenue go all to my children after my death, which is good. Keeping your children rich is good. What did I do for the sake of Islam? Umar ibn al-Khattab, may Allah be pleased with him, he said that when the Prophet ﷺ gave us our share from Khaybar, after the conquest of Khaybar, the Prophet gave us, the Muslims, shares and plots of lands. And Khaybar was a very, very rich village with lots of farms that was so rich in its agricultural products. So I came to the Prophet and said, "O Prophet of Allah, I have this land of Khaybar, which is the most valuable property I have ever owned. What do you order me to do with it? Because it's so dear to my heart, it's not a collector's items. This is our reversed ideas of things. So if I have something I love, I would keep it until I die, though I'm not using it. Why am I not using it? Because I love it." So the companions were the opposite. If they loved something, they expressed their greater love to Allah by donating it for the sake of Allah. So Umar came and said, "This is my land and I cherish it and it's very precious to my heart. Tell me, what should I do with it? I want to do something that pleases Allah." So the Prophet ﷺ said to him, "You may wish to retain the principle and dedicate the yield for charity. So the revenue you get from it is to be given to charity." So Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, stipulated that the land itself would never be sold, given as a gift, or possessed by inheritance. And this is the key hadith that governs the issues of waqf. Now, the famous hadith we all know by heart, and the terminology of as-sadaqatul jariyah, when the son of Adam dies, all his deeds come to an end except in three ways. One, a continuous act of charity. This is part of endowment. So before I die, I ask the brothers in Kenya to go to a poor area and dig a well, and I pay for it. So the villagers drink from that well. It would last maybe 100 years. This is ongoing charity while I'm in my grave. That's it. Someone comes and, for example, sponsors my weekly program on Huda channel or on Zad channel. It's Islam Q&A. And they pay for it for a whole year. And people all over the world watch these questions and answers on YouTube, on Facebook, and so and so. The money they gave to the channel, not to the sheikh. But the channel managed to publish it. They are in their graves and their good deeds meter is clicking. This is what endowment is. So is there any rulings? Yes, endowments has rulings. Number one, the one who dictates or dedicate the endowment has to be sane, adult, rational, meaning that he must be qualified to make such a decision. If a child who inherited millions says, well, I think that high riser, I will make it for charity work. This is not accepted because he's not an adult and he's not rational. So these qualifications must be fulfilled. Secondly, the property endowed must be something that is used for a long time. For example, you cannot make an eraser, an elastic eraser, as endowment, because after a couple of days it's gone. You cannot put food or slaughter a camel and say this is an endowment. It would be consumed in few minutes. So it has to be something that would last for a long time. Thirdly, the endowment should be to serve a good purpose. So someone makes an endowment to teach music. A'udhu billah. This is an ongoing, continuous sin. I know of a righteous, practicing Muslim who's a relative of mine who came to one of my cousins, and my cousin was young. So he asked him to teach him how to play a musical instrument, the guitar. So he taught him how to play on the guitar, and he did a good job, only to discover after 15 years that the man now became famous. And he's a musician, and he makes records. Subhanallah. Something you throw in the ground, a small seed, you don't pay attention to. It grows to become a huge tree. Scholars, students of knowledge, da'is like us, we talk and we don't think a lot of the impact of what we say, only to find out that people from all over the world making dua for us, calling us, Jazakallah khair, you changed my life. Barakallah feek, a video clip I saw. Since then I've been watching all of your lectures and you've transformed my life, my wife's, my mother, my father, my siblings, and we're all making dua for you. We're all abiding by the Quran and the Sunnah. It's overwhelming. I never thought of such an impact. But what's with Allah is never lost. Likewise, when you do a single sin and you share it with someone, you never know that this would be like a wrecking snowball that would grow up in momentum and size, taking everything in its path. People don't know that. They don't pay attention to that because shaitan is controlling them. Didn't you know? Yesterday I saw a movie. It was so great. Where is this movie? I couldn't buy it. No, you don't have to buy it. There is a website. Go to www.gotohellstraight.info or .com. Man, everything is free there. It's beautiful. It took me 10 seconds. And for those listening, going back, watching this haram, because of you, all their sins pour in your pocket. You come on the day of judgment, hi guys, all is well, mashallah, thinking that you're okay, to find mountains of sins. Whoa, this is the wrong address. Who's this? No, that's not mine. Yes, it's yours. You said that sentence, which you did not pay any attention to, and this is going to drop you in hell further than 70 years of travel distance. A'udhu billah. Do not underestimate the things that you do. So it has to be for a good purpose. So you cannot, for example, make an endowment for maintaining temples or churches or publishing haram things. Number 4, if what is endowed falls into the state that makes it of no benefit, it may be sold, provided that its value is used in the same purpose. So I have money. I built a masjid so that people can pray. Is this an endowment? Definitely. The Prophet said, whoever builds a masjid, even if it's as small as the nest of a bird, this is metaphorical, of course, Allah will build him a house in Jannah. So this is something that, whoa, not to be taken lightly. However, after 10 years, the building has deteriorated, the people have shifted. So this neighborhood now is not inhabited. People are going, all of them are going north. So the area is deserted. Maybe one person or two are praying in it. This is not what I built it for, or my father, or my great-grandfather, but they're all dead. I'm the one responsible to take care of it. What would I do? I would go and actually sell the whole plot. But this is endowment. How can you sell it? I'm selling it to refurbish it, to renovate it, and to reuse it somewhere else. So I take an order of selling it as a piece of land. They will demolish the masjid, take the money, go somewhere else with more inhabitants, build a masjid there, and get it working. Someone who has a mall, and the revenue, the yields of the mall is to be spent on a Islamic satellite channel. The mall is not doing well, and I got a customer who wants to buy it and change it into a hospital. So I take the money and I build another mall, or I buy a number of different shops so that the revenue would be equivalent, if not more. This is totally legit and permissible. Number 5, and this is extremely important, and a lot of the Muslims don't know that. An endowment is a binding contract which is confirmed by a mere verbal statement, and it cannot be revoked or sold. So sometimes I get money and I feel lucky, I feel happy, and I say, I will make an endowment of building a masjid, or the residential area I have like 5 residential buildings, apartment buildings. So this one, I will put it for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal, to spend the revenue over masjids and circles of tahfidh al-Quran. After I said that, I said, whoops, I'm talking about $1 million worth of a building. That's a lot of money, man. Tell you what, I changed my mind. Let me do another investment that would generate. No way, Jose. It's a done deal. Sheikh, I didn't mean it. No, you said it. It's a done deal. And saying it can be straightforward. I make as endowment. And it can be ambiguous or metaphoric. I give for the sake of Allah. I donate. All of this are binding. It's like marriage and divorce. The word you say is binding. Your friend is joking with you. And he says, oh, look at my young daughter. She's like 6 months old. Man, I'll give her to you in marriage. And you're laughing and say, well, I accept her as a wife. And there are 2 male witnesses. The marriage is binding. You're kidding me. No, I'm not. Likewise, if someone's drinking cappuccino with his beloved wife, they both are hummingbirds. They love one another. And she says, you know, if you divorce me, I can be a happier woman. And she's teasing him. And he knows that. And he teases her back by saying, well, if you think so, then I divorce you. Pass me the sugar, please. You crazy? What? You're divorced, man. No. I was kidding, man. No, you are divorced, my friend. Sheikh, I didn't mean it. Well, you've said it. Whether you mean it or not, it's a done deal. This is one divorce. Sheikh, please find me a way. Get a counseling session. Pay for it. This is how extremely dangerous what we utter, what we say. It is binding. So be careful when it comes to endowment, because this is a done deal, whether you write it or you say it. Number 7, the conditions stipulated by the person creating the endowment must be abided by, as long as they do not contravene Islamic law. What does this mean? When I set an endowment, it is my duty to put conditions. So usually when I say, okay, this shopping mall, this is an endowment. As for the revenue, I would like the revenue to be distributed in the following fields: 10% to the masjids, 20% to the circles of Hifz al-Quran, 30% orphanages. These are 60 now. 40% for Dawah, which includes printing of leaflets, of books, of Dawah organizations, of TV channels, of radio broadcasting the Quran in Africa, whatever. This is what the person creating the endowment had set as rules and conditions. They must be followed to the letter. As long as there's nothing wrong or against the Sharia, it has to be followed. It's not your problem. After 10 years you say, no, but we don't need this, we don't. No, you have to follow it as it is. And some people may make this, which is number 8, that the endowment is for the benefit of one's children and grandchildren. So usually, in most cases, this refers only to my own sons and daughters, but their children who do not carry my name would not be included. So if my daughters got married, their children won't carry my name. They would carry their father's name. So they're out, that the children. The girls, my girls, they carry my name. They're still in until they die. As for my sons, their daughters and their sons carry my name. I'm their grandfather. So they are having a share. Once my granddaughters get married, they're out. And it continues for those carrying my name. Now, the scholars say that in endowment, both boys and girls are equal in share. While in inheritance, the boys, the males, get double the share of the females. But in endowment, no, they're the same. So if I die and I leave $300,000 behind, and a daughter and a son, the son gets 200, the daughter gets 100. But if I leave an endowment that generates 300,000 a year, every year the daughter gets 150 and the boy gets 150, and they're all equal in that. Now, having said that, it is extremely important to know that endowment is one of the great sources of income for the Muslim Ummah. Look around you, you will find things like Ain Zubaydah, which the wife of Harun al-Rashid, the Abbasi Khalifa, had struggled to make and build only to serve the pilgrims who were stranded without water. She built that and she made it. If you read throughout history, you will find thousands of cases of endowments, whether it is hospitals, whether it is universities and educational institutions, whether it is masjids, whether it is orphanages, and people used to give generously. Now, because the Iman itself is being reduced and minimized, unfortunately, we find that so little is being done for Islam. Whether it's da'wah, whether it's memorizing the Quran, whether it's establishing of masjids, we do need a lot of donations. The other day, subhanallah, a brother from India just came to me and said, Sheikh, I'm blessed with 4 kids and a beautiful wife, and Allah has given me so much, I don't know what to do. Anyhow, he goes and he gives me an envelope of 30,000 riyals, almost $10,000. I said, what is this? He said, I want this to be an endowment. I've heard your talk about lending money, and I believe that there are a lot of Muslims who need money and can't afford it. So this money, I just want it to be regenerating itself by lending it to people and then getting it back and lending it to other people. And by this, I would be investing with Allah Azza wa Jal. Subhanallah. And the money is still with me, and people are borrowing from it and returning it, and it's been circulating for so many years now. So there are people who have this idea of contributing, of giving for the sake of Allah. This is the best investment. When you put and set an endowment and you die, and it goes on after your death for many, many years. I feel sorry when I see movies of actors and actresses who have passed away, but people are still enjoying their movies and generating sins for them. When you see a poster of a celebrity, he's dead, but the people are still watching his nudity or her nudity and her filth. I feel envious when I see someone, may Allah give us all a good ending. When I see the founder of Islam Q&A.info, a website that is visited by minimum 100 million person per year. And he's sitting home, or wherever he is, asleep, and he's getting so much reward of people benefiting. So you should think, what is it that I should be doing so that I would be coming into this loop, inshallah, and gain this continuous sadaqah, this sadaqatun jariyah. Anyhow, this brings us to the end of today's class. Today is Monday. Tomorrow's Thursday. Wow, I'm smart. And the day after is Wednesday. Inshallah, on Wednesday, we have an extra class out of the schedule. And we will, inshallah, devote that to your questions and answers. As of today, I have like 29 questions that would consume the hour. Inshallah, maybe not. So the admins will, Jazakumullah khair, send me like maybe 10 more questions so that we will try to answer them on our class on Wednesday, the day after tomorrow, same time at 4:30 Mecca time. And hopefully we will end by, if not 5:30, then by 6 o'clock, so that we can answer all of your questions. So try your best to join me after a couple of days, day after tomorrow. And until then, I leave you fi amanillah. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.